The message arrived at exactly 0600 hours, Terran Standard Time. Commander Daesung sat in his office aboard the orbital station high above Earth, drinking his morning coffee when the communication console beeped. He was an old man now, 73 years by the calendar, though he looked perhaps 50 thanks to modern medicine. His gray hair was cut short in military fashion, and his dark eyes had seen more combat simulations than most people had seen sunrises. He touched the console screen. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the seal of the Galactic Council. Daesung's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. He had been waiting for this moment his entire life. His father had waited. His grandfather had waited. 150 generations of humans had waited. The message played. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms appeared in the projection. Its name was Vector, High Chancellor of the Vrethian Empire and current leader of the Galactic Council. The creature's voice came through the translator, smooth and arrogant. Humans of Earth and the Terran Quarantine Zone. Vector began. The Galactic Council has deliberated for the past standard year. We have reached a unanimous decision. The Great Armistice, established 3,000 years ago, is hereby dissolved. Your species has remained contained and peaceful for millennia. We have watched you. We have studied you. You are no longer a threat to galactic stability. Daesung took another sip of his coffee. It was getting cold. Therefore, the alien continued, the Council offers you this choice. Submit your worlds for peaceful integration into the greater galactic community under our guidance, or face the consequences of defiance. You have 30 of your Earth days to respond. We expect your cooperation. Regreens, Tenges, the message ended. The hologram disappeared. Daesung sat in silence for a long moment, staring at the empty space where the alien had been. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. It was not a happy smile. It was cold, like winter ice on a mountain lake. He pressed a button on his desk. Get me Dr. He Jin and all fleet commanders. Immediate conference. Priority Alpha. 20 minutes later, the conference room filled with holographic projections. Officers from across human space appeared, one by one. Captain Taeyang, young and sharp-featured, materialized first. He commanded the outer defense fleet and looked eager. Admiral Sung-ho appeared next, his scarred face neutral as always. Dr. Hai-jin joined last, her silver hair pulled back, wearing the simple robes of the historical archives. They ended it, Daesung said simply. The armistice is over. Captain Taeyang looked confused. Sir, shouldn't we be concerned? The Galactic Council has thousands of warships, multiple species. We've been contained for 3,000 years. Several of the older officers smiled. The same cold smile their commander wore. Dr. Hai-jin spoke, her voice gentle but firm. Captain, how much do you know about the First Contact War? Taeyang frowned. What everyone knows. We encountered alien species. There was conflict. We were defeated and agreed to the armistice. We've lived in the quarantine zone ever since. That, Hai-jin said, is what we allowed them to believe. What we allowed them to teach in their schools. What we wanted them to remember. She touched her datapad, and a new hologram appeared in the center of the table. Ancient star maps. Battle records. Images of ships from 3 millennia past. The truth, Captain, is very different. 5,000 years ago, humanity reached the stars. We spread to nearby systems. We were excited, hopeful, looking for friends in the cosmos. Then we met the Vrethians. They saw us as primitives. They attacked our colonies without warning, killed millions. They expected easy conquest. The hologram shifted, showing old battle footage. Human ships, sleek and deadly, moving through space. Alien vessels exploding in silence. We didn't lose, Captain. We won. We won so completely, so absolutely, that 6 alien civilizations united and begged us to stop. Humanity's war machine became so efficient that we were destroying entire fleets in hours. Our soldiers were too good. Our technology advanced too quickly. Our strategic thinking was beyond anything they had encountered. Taeyang's eyes widened. Then why did we agree to the armistice? Admiral Sung Ho answered this time, his voice rough. Because our leaders made a choice. They looked at what we were becoming and didn't like it. War was changing us, making us into something dark. So, when the aliens came offering peace, offering to leave us alone in our own space, we accepted. Not because we were weak, because we were merciful. Dae-sung stood, walking to the viewport. Outside, Earth turned slowly below, blue and green and beautiful. For 3,000 years, we have lived in our quarantine zone. We raised our children. We built our worlds. We created art and music and studied the universe. But we never forgot. Every generation, we told the true story. Every child learned what their ancestors did. Every adult maintained their military training. We prepared. He turned back to face them. The quarantine zone is not a cage. It's a fortress. Every space station can become a weapons platform. Every colony ship carries hidden armaments. Every human adult is reserve military personnel. Our civilian infrastructure is dual purpose by design. For 3,000 years, we've been building, improving, perfecting. Dr. Heijin brought up population statistics. 900 billion humans, across 200 star systems, Commander. Every single one, ready. And they think we're weak, Taeyang said slowly, understanding dawning on his face. They've forgotten, Dae-sung replied. 3,000 years is a long time. Their historians teach that they defeated us. Their leaders grew comfortable. They stopped being afraid. That was the point of the armistice. We gave them time to forget what we could do. He pressed another button. Across human space, on every world, in every station, a signal went out. Protocol, remembrance. People everywhere stopped what they were doing. They looked up at screens, at displays, at their communication devices. The message was simple. The peace has ended. We are ready. In homes across Earth, families gathered. Parents told their children, remember the stories we taught you. Remember the training. Remember why we practiced. There were no tears, no panic, just calm preparation. This was what they had trained for. What their parents and grandparents had trained for. In shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, construction drones activated. Ships that had been in storage for centuries powered up. Weapons, systems came online. Soldiers reported to their stations without being ordered. They simply knew. Back in the conference room, Dae-sung looked at his officers. The Vrithians are sending their first fleet. 10,000 warships. According to our intelligence. They expect to arrive at the quarantine zone boundary in 2 weeks. They think they'll scare us into surrender with a show of force. What are your orders, sir? Admiral Sung Ho asked. The cold smile returned to Dae-sung's face. Let them come. Captain Taeyang, take 200 ships to meet them. Make it look like that's all we have. Make them confident. 200 against 10,000? Taeyang asked, though he was smiling now too. You won't be alone for long. Dae-sung assured him. Admiral, prepare the hidden fleet. Doctor, Heijin, I want every piece of historical footage from the First Contact War ready to broadcast. When this is over, the galaxy will remember why they were afraid. And this time, they'll never forget. The officers saluted, and their holograms disappeared one by one. Dae-sung stood alone in the conference room, looking out at Earth, the planet that had given birth to humanity, the planet that had been their fortress for 3 millennia. He thought about his great-grandfather, who had fought in the last battles before the armistice, who had come home and helped build this peace. who had made sure his children understood. Peace was not weakness. Mercy was not surrender. And preparation was eternal. They wanted war, Daesung whispered to the empty room. Now they'll remember why they asked us to stop. The smile never left his face. Ambassador Jiwoo stood in the Hall of Galactic Unity, a massive chamber on the neutral station where the Council held its meetings. Around her, representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections. She was the only human present. She had been the only human present for the past 12 years of her assignment. The ambassador was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, with short black hair and sharp eyes. She wore simple gray robes, the traditional diplomatic dress of Earth. The other ambassadors wore elaborate costumes, decorated with jewels and medals. They looked at her the way one might look at a pet that had learned a clever trick. Vector, the High Chancellor, spoke from his elevated platform. Ambassador Jiwoo, your 30 days are nearly expired. What is humanity's response to our generous offer? R11. Ambassador Jiwoo. R111. Ambassador Jiwoo. Jiwoo smiled. It was the same cold smile Commander Daesung had worn. High Chancellor, I have consulted with my government. We have carefully considered your offer of integration. I see. The chamber fell silent. Every species leaned forward, eager to hear humanity's surrender. Our answer is no. Gasps echoed through the hall. Vector's blue face darkened. You refuse? Do you understand what you're saying? The Galactic Council commands a combined military force of over 50,000 warships. Your people have been confined to your small corner of space for 3 millennia. You have what? A few hundred ships at most? Jiwoo's smile widened slightly. We have enough. A reptilian ambassador from the Scaleth Dominion laughed, a hissing sound. Enough? Enough for what? To die quickly? Your species learned its place 3,000 years ago. You were defeated then. You'll be defeated again, even more easily. Is that, Jiwoo said softly, what you truly believe happened 3,000 years ago? Before anyone could answer, she activated her personal holo projector. The air above the center of the chamber filled with images. Ancient images. Battle footage from the First Contact War. The council members watched as human ships tore through alien fleets. They saw weapons that turned entire vessels into expanding clouds of debris. They saw human soldiers in powered armor moving through alien fortifications like death incarnate. They saw planets blockaded, supply lines cut, and proud species brought to their knees. This, Jiwoo said, her voice carrying through the stunned silence, is what actually happened. Humanity didn't lose the First Contact War. We won it. Completely. Absolutely. 6 of your civilizations united and came to us begging for peace. You offered us the armistice. You asked us, pleaded with us, to stop. Vector stood, his forearms trembling. Show what you wanted to remember, Jiwoo interrupted. What you needed to believe to sleep at night. You couldn't live with the truth that a single species, new to the stars, had defeated your combined forces in less than 20 years. So you rewrote history. You told yourselves we were contained, quarantined for the galaxy's safety. You forgot the real reason. R-rated. She gestured, and new images appeared. Human worlds, massive orbital stations, cities that stretched across continents, shipyards hidden in asteroid belts. For 3,000 years, we have lived in peace. We raised our children. We studied. We created art. We explored our section of space. And every single day, we remembered what we were, what we could be if we needed to be. An insectoid ambassador clicked its mandibles nervously. You're bluffing. Even if this is true, 3,000 years have passed. You've grown soft, peaceful. Have we? Jiwoo asked. She pulled up new data. Let me tell you what we've been doing in our quarantine zone. Our population is 900 billion. Every adult receives military training as part of basic education. Every ship we build serves dual purposes. Every space station can become a fortress. Every colony is a fortified position. We didn't grow soft. We grew prepared. She turned slowly, looking at each ambassador in turn. Do you know what humanity's greatest strength is? It's not our technology, though ours is far beyond yours. It's not our tactics, though we've spent 3 millennia perfecting them. It's our memory. We don't forget. Every generation, we tell the story. Every child learns what their ancestors did. We pass down knowledge like a sacred trust. On the display, new ships appeared. Sleek vessels that looked like they were built from starlight and darkness. These are our current warships. Notice anything? They use technology your scientists won't develop for another 500 years. Hard light armor that adapts in real time. Quantum entanglement weapons that ignore shields. Artificial intelligence coordination beyond your comprehension. And these are just the standard models. Admiral Sung Ho's face appeared in the hologram, broadcasting from deep space. His scarred features looked grim. Council members, this is Admiral Sung Ho of the Terran Defense Fleet. I'm transmitting from coordinates you cannot trace. Around me is what we call the Hidden Fleet. 50,000 warships that have been waiting in dark space for precisely this moment. Ships that don't appear on any register. Ships that have been crewed and maintained for generations. Waiting for the day someone forgot why they were afraid. The chamber erupted in chaos. Ambassadors shouted at each other. Some called for retreat. Others demanded proof. Vector's blue face had gone almost white. Jiwoo continued calmly. Your first fleet, Chancellor Vector, is currently approaching our border. 10,000 ships. Yes, you thought that would be enough to make us surrender. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Captain Tae Yang is meeting them with 200 ships. Yes, only 200. He's going to make them think that's all we have. And then, he's going to destroy them. Impossible, Vector whispered. Is it? Let me tell you about Captain Tae Yang. He's 28 years old. He's been training for space combat since he was 5. His reflexes are enhanced through genetic optimization. His tactical education includes every major battle in galactic history, plus 3,000 years of human military development. He's piloting a ship whose AI can process battlefield data faster than your entire fleet combined, and he's considered average by our standards. Jiwoo paused, letting that sink in. Every single human ship commander is like him, or better. Our veterans have centuries of experience, because our medical technology extends life far beyond natural limits. Commander Dae-sung, our supreme commander, has been studying warfare for 73 years. His grandfather fought in the First Contact War and taught him everything. A small, furry ambassador from a peaceful species spoke up timidly. Ambassador Jiwoo, if this is true, why did you accept the armistice? Why did you let us believe we had won? Jiwoo's expression softened slightly. Because our leaders, 3,000 years ago, looked at what we were becoming and didn't like it. War was changing us, making us hard, cruel. So when you offered peace, we accepted. We chose mercy. We chose to give the galaxy time to grow, to mature, to maybe become something better. She looked at Vector directly. We gave you 3,000 years of peace. We could have conquered the entire galaxy, could have ruled it. But we chose to stay in our corner and let you live. That was our gift to you. And you've thrown it away. The High Chancellor sat down heavily. What happens now? Now, Jiwoo gestured. And the hologram changed to show real-time tactical displays. Now, you learn. Your first fleet will arrive at our border in 3 days. They will engage our forces. And they will understand what their ancestors understood 3,000 years ago. That humanity, when pushed to war, is very, very good at it. She deactivated the projector. I have been authorized to offer you one chance. Recall your fleet. Issue a formal apology. Recognize humanity's sovereignty. And we will return to peace. But if you continue this path, you will remember why your ancestors were grateful we stopped. Vector looked around the chamber. His fellow council members looked terrified. The Scaleth ambassador who had laughed earlier was now pale green instead of his usual bright color. The insectoid's wings were trembling. The fleet has already been dispatched, Vector said weakly. It would take weeks to recall them. They'll reach your border in 3 days. Then, in 3 days, Jiwoo said calmly, the galaxy will remember. I suggest you prepare your people for the news. Tell them the truth this time. Tell them that 3,000 years ago, they didn't defeat humanity. They survived humanity's mercy. And now that mercy has been tested, we'll see if you've learned anything. Alright. She turned to leave, her gray robes swishing softly. When this is over, when you see what we can do, remember this. We still chose mercy once before. We can choose it again. But we will never, ever, let you forget why you should fear us. As Jiwoo left the Hall of Galactic Unity, emergency messages began flooding out across the galaxy. Some species immediately began drafting apologies. Others mobilized their defenses, unsure of what was coming. A few brave souls pulled up the old, true records of the First Contact War, records that had been buried and forgotten. What they found made them tremble. On the flagship of the Vrithian First Fleet, Commander Volthax received reports of strange sensor readings ahead. Small ships, barely 200 of them, forming a defensive line. He laughed. Is this all they send? Prepare to attack. We'll crush them in minutes and move on to their home worlds. His tactical officer, younger and more nervous, said quietly. Sir, I've been reading the old records. The restricted ones. I think we should. Silence. Volthax snapped. Those are human lies. Propaganda from a defeated species. We advance in 2 days. Prepare the fleet for easy victory. But deep in the archives of the fleet's database, buried in restricted files, were the words of a Vrithian admiral from 3,000 years ago. The last entry in his journal before he died. We didn't defeat the humans. They let us live. If my descendants ever forget this, if they ever think we won, then they are doomed. The humans didn't surrender. They showed mercy. And mercy is the most terrifying thing of all, because it means they could have destroyed us but chose not to. Pray they never choose differently. The journal entry had been read by 3 people in 3,000 years. None of them were still alive. And the Vrithian First Fleet continued its approach, confident and doomed. Captain Taeyang sat in the command chair of the warship Eternal Vigilance, watching his tactical display with calm eyes. Behind him, his crew worked in perfect silence. Each person knew their role. They had practiced this exact scenario 10,000 times in simulation. Now it was real. Fleet status? He asked quietly. Lieutenant Yunji, his tactical officer, answered immediately. All 200 ships in formation. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. Drone swarms, ready for deployment. Enemy status? Vrithian First Fleet entering scanning range now. Confirmed count. 10,043 warships. They're maintaining attack formation. They see us. On the main view screen, the Vrithian fleet appeared as thousands of glowing dots against the darkness of space. They were massive ships, some over 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons. Against them, Taeyang's 200 ships looked tiny. A communication request came through. Taeyang nodded to his communications officer. Dalho. Put them on screen. Commander Volthax appeared, his blue face twisted in what might have been amusement. Human vessel. This is Commander Volthax of the Vrithian First Fleet. You stand before the might of the Galactic Council. 200 ships? This is all you send? Surrender now, and you will be treated with mercy. Taeyang smiled, the cold smile. Commander Volthax, this is Captain Taeyang of the Terran Defense Fleet. I cannot accept your offer. Please turn your fleet around and return to Council space. This is your only warning. Volthax laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. Your only warning? You're outnumbered 50-1. What can you possibly— I wasn't talking to you, Taeyang interrupted. I was reading from the official protocol script. Consider yourself warned. He made a cutting gesture, and Dalho ended the transmission. All ships, Taeyang said into the fleet channel. Execute Plan Remembrance. Make our ancestors proud. The 200 human ships began to move. They didn't advance toward the massive enemy fleet. Instead, they spread out, forming a sphere of positions around a central point in space. To the Vrithians, it looked like a defensive formation. They were partly right. Enemy fleet advancing, Yunji reported. They're splitting into attack wings. Classic pincer movement. They're going to try to surround us and hit from all sides. Let them, Taeyang said. Kyung-Soo, are the special packages ready? Engineer Kyung-Soo's voice came through from the ship's weapons bay. He was an old man, 72 years of age, who had spent his entire life perfecting weapons systems. Captain, the reality anchoring torpedoes are ready. Quantum entanglement bombs are armed, and the kinetic accelerators are charged to 0.98 light speed. Good. Wait for my mark. The Vrithian fleet closed in. 10,000 ships moving in perfect formation, confident in their numerical superiority. Their weapons were charging. Their shields were up. They expected an easy fight. They were wrong. Now, Taeyang said softly, the space around the human fleet suddenly came alive. From seemingly nowhere, 500 more ships appeared. Stealth vessels that had been hiding using technology the Vrethians didn't know existed. Captain Bora's silent memory led them. A ship so advanced its hull seemed to eat light. Surprise. Bora's voice crackled over the communication channel. Stealth fleet engaging. The Vrithian formation broke apart in confusion. Where there had been 200 targets, now there were 700. And those 700 ships began to move in ways that seemed impossible. Human ships didn't just maneuver, they danced. Centuries of tactical evolution had created movement patterns that were almost art. Ships spun and weaved through space, their enhanced crews able to handle accelerations that would have killed baseline humans. Their AI systems processed battlefield data millions of times per second, coordinating movements with perfect precision. The first volley of human weapons fire crossed the distance to the Vrithian fleet. Kyung-Soo's special weapons performed exactly as designed. Reality anchoring torpedoes hit Vrithian shields and simply ignored them, passing through as if the shields didn't exist. They struck hulls and detonated, creating pockets of frozen spacetime that nothing could escape. Ships caught in the effect stopped moving, stopped functioning, became frozen statues in space. Quantum entanglement bombs hit next. They didn't explode in the traditional sense. Instead, they entangled the molecular structure of enemy ships with points in deep space. The ships simply came apart, their atoms scattered across light years in an instant. No explosion, no debris. The ships just ceased to exist. The kinetic accelerators were perhaps the most terrifying. They fired solid projectiles at 98% of light speed. When those projectiles hit, they didn't just destroy ships, they vaporized them. The energy released was like a small star being born and dying in a microsecond. Shields meant nothing. Armor meant nothing. The laws of physics became weapons. Enemy casualties reaching critical levels, Yunji reported, her voice professional despite the carnage on her screens. They've lost over 2,000 ships in the first 4 minutes. Commander Volthax's voice screamed across the communication channels. Impossible. What are these weapons? How are you doing this? Taeyang opened the channel again. Commander, you asked what we could possibly do. This is what 3,000 years of preparation looks like. This is what you forgot we could be. The human fleet pressed their advantage. Drone swarms deployed from every ship. Millions of tiny machines that worked with hive mind coordination. They weren't like any drones the Vrithians had seen. These were smart, adaptable, and deadly. They swarmed over enemy ships like insects, cutting through hulls, destroying weapon systems, targeting life support. Deploy the hard light nets, Taeyang ordered. From the human ships, beams of light extended. But this wasn't ordinary light. It was solid, programmable matter, held together by technology that bent the rules of physics. The nets spread out and caught entire groups of Vrithian ships, holding them in place while drone swarms tore them apart. Captain Bora's stealth fleet had circled around behind the main Vrithian formation. Her ships opened fire from behind, and the enemy fleet found themselves caught between two forces. Every maneuver they attempted was predicted and countered. The humans had studied Vrithian tactics for 3,000 years. Every possible move had been analyzed, every strategy understood and defeated. "They're trying to retreat," Yunji announced. "Let the outer wings go," Taeyang said. "Destroy the center. We want survivors to carry the message." The human fleet adjusted their fire. Ships on the edges of the Vrithian formation were allowed to pull back. But the center, where Volthax's flagship stood, received the full fury of human weapons. Reality anchoring torpedoes froze them in place. Quantum entanglement bombs made entire sections of the fleet disappear. Kinetic accelerators punched through capital ships like they were paper. Kyung-Soo's voice came through again. "Captain, I'm detecting energy buildups in the remaining enemy ships. They're preparing to fire their main weapons." "Show them why that won't work," Taeyang replied. The human ships activated another system. Defensive drones spread out in clouds around each vessel. When the Vrithian weapons fired, massive energy beams and missiles that could destroy planets, the defensive drones intercepted them. But they didn't just block the attacks, they absorbed the energy and redirected it. The Vrithian weapons fire was turned back on their own ships. In 4 hours, it was over. Of the 10,000 Vrithian ships that had entered the battle, fewer than 2,000 remained. They were fleeing in disorder. All formation lost. All confidence shattered. The human fleet had lost exactly 0 ships. A few had taken minor damage. None had been destroyed. Taeyang opened a channel to Volthax's damaged flagship. "Commander, I am allowing you to retreat. You will return to Council space. You will tell them what you saw here. Tell them that this was us being merciful. Tell them we could have destroyed every single ship, but we chose to let you live. Can you do that?" Volthax's image appeared on screen. The proud commander looked broken. His blue skin was pale. His forearms trembled. "What? What are you?" "We're human," Taeyang said simply. "This is what we've always been. You just forgot. Your ancestors knew. They remembered, but you forgot, and now you've paid the price for that forgetting." The remaining Vrithian ships jumped to faster-than-light travel and fled. The human fleet regrouped, running system checks and cataloging the damage they'd inflicted. "All ships report in," Taeyang ordered. One by one, his captains confirmed they were intact. Bora's voice was warm with pride. "Stealth fleet, intact. 0 casualties. The old designs still work perfectly." "They do," Taeyang agreed. "Because they were good designs 3,000 years ago, and we've only made them better." Lieutenant Yunji was reviewing battle data. "Captain, our AI systems recorded everything. The performance data is incredible. The new weapons exceeded expectations. The drone coordination was flawless. This battle will be studied for centuries. Send all data to Commander Daesung," Taeyang ordered. "And prepare a package for Dr. Heijin. She'll want to add this to the archives." Ron pouted stout. "She'll want to add this to the archives." Engineer Kyung-Soo appeared on the command deck, wiping his hands on a cloth. He looked satisfied. "The weapons performed perfectly. My great-grandfather would be proud." He designed the first reality-anchoring torpedo concept during the First Contact War. Never got to use it. Took us 3,000 years to perfect it. But it works. Taeyang stood from his command chair and walked to the main viewport. Outside, the debris field of the battle drifted in space. Thousands of destroyed ships. The cost of forgetting. Do you think they'll remember this time? Yoonji asked quietly. They will, Taeyang said. Ambassador Jiwoo is broadcasting the battle footage across the entire galaxy right now. Every species will see what happened here. They'll see that we gave them a chance to retreat. They'll see that we could have killed them all but chose mercy. And they'll understand that mercy is not weakness. Dalho spoke up from his station. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Commander Dae-sung. The Supreme Commander's face appeared on screen. He looked tired but pleased. Well done, Captain. You honored our ancestors today. The galaxy is watching. They're remembering. Some species are already sending apologies. Others are mobilizing for war. The Vrethians and 2 other species are doubling down. Orders, sir? Taeyang asked. Return to base. Rest your crews. Repair any damage. Admiral Sung-ho is moving the hidden fleet into position. If they want to continue this war, we'll teach them the next lesson. But you've done your part. You've shown them we weren't lying. Now they have to decide if they want to learn or if they want to die. The transmission ended. Taeyang looked at his crew. Young faces, old faces, all calm and professional. They had just won a historic victory, and they treated it like another day at work, because for humanity, this was what they trained for, what they prepared for, what they remembered. Take us home, he ordered. Well done, everyone. Our ancestors would be proud. As the eternal vigilance turned toward Earth, across the galaxy, the footage of the battle played on every screen, and species that had forgotten began to remember why they had been afraid 3,000 years ago. The footage spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every news station, every communication network, every public display showed the same thing. The complete destruction of the Vrethian First Fleet by a force 1/50th their size. Within 24 hours, the entire galaxy knew. Within 48 hours, the political landscape had completely changed. In the Galactic Council chambers, chaos reigned. Ambassador Jiwoo watched calmly as species turned on each other, shouting accusations and demands. You told us humans were weak. The Scaleth ambassador hissed at Vector. You said they were contained. You said they were defeated. We all believed it, Vector shot back, his forearms gesturing wildly. The records showed what we wanted to believe. A quiet voice interrupted. It belonged to Ambassador Corva, of the Thelian Confederacy, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Her people lived for 500 years, and she was ancient even by their standards. I was young during the First Contact War. I remember. We begged them to stop. We rewrote the history because the truth was too shameful to bear. And now our children's children have paid the price for our pride. 4 species immediately declared their withdrawal from any military action against humanity. Their ambassadors approached Jiwoo formally, offering apologies and requesting peace. She accepted graciously, but her cold smile never wavered. I appreciate your wisdom, she told them. However, understand this. We will not forget who stood with the Vrethians when this began. Peace will be offered, but trust must be earned. The Vrethian ambassador stood defiantly. We will not surrender. We have allies. The Krellian Empire and the Morgath Collective stand with us. Together we command forces greater than your 200 ships. Jiwoo's smile widened. 200? Oh, Ambassador, we've only shown you our greeting party. Would you like to see what we actually have? She activated her holo projector. The display filled with ship counts, fleet positions, and military capabilities. The numbers made the room fall silent. 900 billion people. Jiwoo said softly. 200 star systems, 4,000 orbital fortresses, 16,000 capital ships, over 200,000 support vessels, and that's just what we're willing to tell you about. The hidden fleet that Admiral Sung Ho commands? That remains our secret, for now. The Krellian ambassador, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, pulsed with uncertainty. This cannot be accurate. Our intelligence shows what we wanted you to see, Jiwoo interrupted. For 3,000 years, we've let you think we were small, weak, contained. Every scan you made, every spy you sent, every piece of intelligence you gathered told you what we wanted you to know. Did you really think a species advanced enough to defeat the combined might of 6 civilizations couldn't hide its true strength? Across the galaxy, the military situation was shifting rapidly. General Mi-sun stood on the bridge of the assault carrier Rising Phoenix, overlooking a tactical map of 50 star systems. She was a tall woman, with gray streaks in her black hair, a veteran of countless training exercises and simulations. Now, finally, she would put theory into practice. General, all ground forces report ready, her aide reported. We have 3 million troops in powered armor standing by. Another 10 million in standard combat equipment. Civilian defense forces, numbering 50 million, are mobilizing across the affected systems. Mi-sun nodded. The Vrithians and their allies had colonies in systems near human space. Those colonies had been used as staging grounds for the fleet that attacked them. Now, humanity would show that their soldiers were as formidable as their ships. Begin Operation Homecoming, she ordered. Liberate all systems the Vrithians took from smaller species during their expansion. Return those worlds to their original inhabitants. Show the galaxy we're not conquerors. We're liberators. The assault began simultaneously across 50 systems. Human dropships descended through atmospheres, their shields shrugging off defensive fire. The ships landed, and powered armor troops emerged. These weren't the soldiers of ancient Earth. These were warriors who had been preparing for 3,000 years. Their armor was barely visible, shifting with active camouflage. Their weapons could adjust from non-lethal to devastating with a thought. Their enhanced bodies could run faster, hit harder, and endure longer than any baseline human from history. On the colony world of Tresh 7, a Vrithian garrison of 10,000 troops fortified their positions, expecting a long siege. Instead, 200 human soldiers appeared from nowhere, having infiltrated using stealth technology. The battle lasted 14 minutes. Not a single human casualty. The Vrithian troops surrendered, shocked and overwhelmed. But what surprised them more was what came after. General Mi-sun herself arrived with medical teams and supplies. The wounded Vrithians were treated with the same care as human wounded. The surrendered troops were given food, water, and comfortable detention. Why? One Vrithian officer asked Mi-sun. Why are you helping us? We came to destroy you. Mi-sun looked at him with calm eyes. Because we're not monsters. We're soldiers doing a job. You're defeated. The war, for you, is over. We don't torture prisoners. We don't starve them. We treat them with dignity, because that's who we are. The officer broke down crying. We were told you were barbarians, primitives, dangerous animals that needed to be caged. You were told lies, Mi-sun said. We're human. We can be gentle, or we can be fierce. We prefer gentle. But when someone forces us to be fierce, we're very, very good at it. Intelligence Officer Jae-hyun sat in a dark room surrounded by holographic displays. He was running the largest psychological operation in human history. Every news network, every communication channel, every public space in the galaxy was being flooded with information. Historical footage from the First Contact War played on loop. Not propaganda, just facts. Just the truth of what had happened 3,000 years ago. Ship logs from alien vessels describing their terror. Surrender documents. Peace treaties. The real history that had been buried and forgotten. Release the next phase, Jae-hyun ordered his team. Across the galaxy, new footage appeared. It showed human daily life. Children playing in parks, artists creating beautiful works, scientists making discoveries, families gathering for meals. Normal, peaceful life. The message was clear. Humanity didn't want war. They wanted to live, but they were ready for war if forced. Then came the third phase. Demonstrations of human capabilities. Not battles, just demonstrations. A human engineer, disassembling and reassembling a fusion reactor in minutes. A human athlete running at speeds that seemed impossible. A human doctor performing surgery with perfect precision. A human child solving mathematical problems that stumped galactic computers. Let them see what we are, Jae-hyun said. Not monsters. Not primitives. Just humans. Evolved. Advanced. Prepared. The effect was immediate. On 100 worlds, protests erupted. Citizens demanded their governments end the war. They asked why their leaders had lied to them. They questioned why they were fighting a species that clearly didn't want to fight, but was devastatingly good at it when forced. In the council chambers, Ambassador Ji-woo received word that 6 more species had withdrawn from the conflict. Only the Vrethians, Krellians, and Morgath remained defiant. You can still end this, she told them. Withdraw your forces. Issue formal apologies. Recognize human sovereignty. We will return to peace. No reparations demanded. No conquests made. Just peace. The Vrethian ambassador stood. We cannot. Our pride will not allow it. We will fight to the last ship, Ji-woo sighed. Then you will lose to the last ship. And when it's over, we will still offer you peace. Because that's what we do. We win. And then, we show mercy. Just like we did 3,000 years ago. Commander Dae-sung reviewed reports in his office. The war was going exactly as predicted. Human forces were winning everywhere, with minimal casualties. The ancient battle plans, refined over 3 millennia, were working perfectly. Dr. Hee-jin entered, carrying her data pad. The psychological impact is significant, she reported. 70% of the galactic population now supports ending the war. The historical footage has changed minds. They're remembering their fear, but they're also seeing our restraint. Good, Dae-sung said. Fear alone creates hatred. Fear combined with respect creates peace. We need both. The Vrethians are gathering their remaining forces, Hee-jin continued. Intelligence suggests they're planning a final assault on Earth itself. They think if they can strike our homeworld, they can break our will to fight. Dae-sung's cold smile returned. Then they've learned nothing. Admiral Sung-ho, are you listening? Always, Commander. Sung-ho's voice came through the communication system. The hidden fleet is ready. Should they come to Earth, they will see what we've really been building for 3,000 years. Across human space, ancient ships were being brought back into service. These vessels had been built during the First Contact War and placed in storage. They were museum pieces, relics of a violent past, but they had been maintained perfectly, updated with modern technology, kept ready for this exact situation. A young engineer named Won-shik stood before one of these ancient warships, the Indomitable, reading its history plaque. This ship destroyed 47 enemy vessels in the Battle of Kepler 186. Served for 20 years, decommissioned at the signing of the armistice, preserved as a reminder of what we were. His supervisor, an old woman named Eun-ji, stood beside him. And now it fights again. Not because we want it to, because they forced us. This ship is 3,000 years old, and it's still more advanced than anything the Vrethians have. That should tell you something about how far ahead we were, and how much further we've come. The ship powered up, its ancient systems coming online as if it had never slept. Weapons charged, shields activated. The AI core woke and spoke in a voice that had been silent for millennia. Indomitable online. Ready for duty. Ready to protect humanity. Wanshik felt tears in his eyes. Welcome back, old warrior. We hoped we'd never need you again. But you prepared anyway, the AI responded. That is the human way. Hope for peace. Prepare for war. Fight when necessary. Show mercy when victorious. I am proud to serve again. Ambassador Ji Woo sent one final message to the Vrithian High Council. It was broadcast across all channels, public and private, so the entire galaxy could hear. You have 30 days, she said. 30 days to withdraw your forces and sue for peace. If you choose to continue, if you choose to assault Earth, you will face the full might of humanity, not a portion, not a demonstration, everything. And when it's over, when you've lost everything, we will still offer you peace. Because we are human. We don't forget. We don't forgive easily. But we don't exterminate either. We give you this choice because our mercy extends even to those who refuse to accept it. Choose wisely. The message ended. The galaxy waited. And humanity prepared for what they knew was coming. The final lesson they would have to teach. The lesson that mercy shown once can be shown again, but only to those who finally learn to accept it. The Vrithian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 5,000 warships, all that remained of their once mighty military. They carried the pride of an empire that refused to admit defeat. They carried weapons meant to destroy planets. And they carried the desperation of a species that had bet everything on one final attack. Emperor Valen himself commanded the fleet from the massive supercarrier Divine Retribution. He was old, even for his long-lived species. And he remembered stories his grandfather had told him about the First Contact War. Stories he had dismissed as exaggerations. Stories he now knew were true. Scan the system, he ordered. Find their defenses. His sensor officer worked frantically, then looked up with confusion. Emperor, I'm detecting only minimal defensive satellites around Earth. A few hundred ships in orbit. It's almost empty. Valen felt cold dread in his chest. It's a trap. It has to be. Where are they? The answer came a moment later. Space itself seemed to split open. Not in one location, but in 10,000 locations throughout the solar system, from points of dark space, from behind moons and asteroids, from positions that had been completely hidden, ships appeared. Admiral Sung Ho's hidden fleet revealed itself. 50,000 warships of such advanced design they looked like they were made of liquid metal and starlight. Ships that had been waiting in dark space for 3,000 years. Maintained and upgraded across generations. Crewed by personnel who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Emperor Valen. Sung Ho's voice came across all channels. His scarred face filled their view screens. You have made a terrible mistake. You were given 30 days to surrender. You chose to attack Earth instead. Now you will learn what we've been building for 3 millennia. The hidden fleet moved. Not with the coordinated precision of a normal military force. With something beyond that. Every ship moved, as if it were part of a single organism. The AI coordination was so advanced, so perfect, that 50,000 vessels acted as one. Valen's fleet tried to respond. They fired weapons. They launched missiles. They activated shields. Nothing worked. The human ships simply weren't where the weapons went. They moved too fast, predicted too well, coordinated too perfectly. Then the humans returned fire. Not with the weapons they'd used against the First Fleet. With something worse. The flagship Divine Retribution was hit by a weapon that simply shut it down. No explosion. No destruction. The ship just stopped working. Power died. Life support failed. Weapons went offline. The crew floated helplessly in the darkness. What? What did you do? Valen whispered into his emergency communicator. Admiral Sung Ho's voice was calm, almost gentle. Electromagnetic pulse, refined to a level your science cannot match. Your ship is disabled but intact. Your crew is alive but helpless. We could have vaporized you. We chose not to. Do you understand yet? Across the battlefield, the same scene repeated. Vrithian ships were disabled, not destroyed. Crews were left alive, scared but unharmed. It was mercy demonstrated through overwhelming force. On Earth's surface, Commander Dae Sung stood in the Terran High Command Center, watching the battle unfold. Beside him, Dr. He-jin observed quietly. Captain Tae-yang's fleet had returned and stood ready in reserve. General Mi-sun's ground forces were positioned to repel any invasion. But everyone knew it wouldn't come to that. 36 hours, Dae Sung said. That's how long I estimate until they're completely disabled. The Battle of Earth will be remembered for millennia, He-jin said. But not as a battle. As a lesson in restraint. In showing that victory doesn't require destruction. That's the point, Dae Sung replied. Any species can destroy. Only the truly advanced can conquer without killing. Only the truly wise choose not to conquer at all. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 36 hours. In that time, the entire Vrithian fleet was disabled. Not a single human ship was damaged. Not a single human life was lost. And not a single Vrithian ship was destroyed. When it was over, Admiral Sung Ho's ship pulled alongside the drifting Divine Retribution. Human engineers boarded the flagship, bringing power cells and life support equipment. They restored minimal systems, enough to keep the crew alive and comfortable. Sung Ho himself entered the bridge where Emperor Valen sat in darkness. The admiral wore simple fatigues, not even bothering with armor. He didn't need it. Emperor, Sung Ho said, bowing slightly. We need to talk. Valen looked up at him, broken and defeated. Why didn't you kill us? We came to destroy your world. We would have shown no mercy. I know, Sung Ho said, sitting down across from him. But we are not you. 3,000 years ago, our leaders faced this same choice. They could exterminate the species that had attacked them. Or they could show mercy and hope that someday, those species would become better. They chose mercy. It's who we are. We called you primitives, Valen whispered. Animals. Barbarians. You did, Sung Ho agreed. And maybe, 3,000 years ago, you would have been partly right. War was changing us into something dark. That's why we accepted the armistice. Not because we lost, but because we were afraid of what we were becoming. We chose to step back, to remember our humanity, to live in peace and let others do the same. He stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at Earth hanging in space below. We spent 3,000 years preparing for this day. Not because we wanted war, because we knew it might come. And we decided that if it did, we would fight in a way that honored who we wanted to be. Valen's voice cracked. What happens now? Now, Sung Ho said. Ambassador Ji-woo arrives with peace terms. You listen. You decide if you want to live with dignity or die with pride. I recommend the former. Ambassador Ji-woo's shuttle arrived at the Divine Retribution 6 hours later. She brought with her representatives from 20 other species, including the ones who had withdrawn from the war. They assembled in the flagship's conference room, hastily repaired by human engineers. Ji-woo stood before the gathered ambassadors and Emperor Valen. She looked small and gentle in her gray robes, but everyone in the room knew what she represented. 3,000 years ago, she began. The first armistice was signed right here in this system. It was signed because humanity showed mercy. Today, we offer a new armistice, new terms for a new age. She activated a holographic display. First, all aggressive military actions cease immediately. Second, All species reduce their military forces to defensive levels only. Third, a new galactic council is formed, with equal representation for all species, including humanity. Fourth, peacekeeping stations will be established in key systems, operated jointly by multiple species. Fifth, any future aggression against any species will be met with immediate response from the joint peacekeeping forces. She paused, looking at each face in turn. Sixth, and most important, the quarantine zone is dissolved. Humanity will resume expansion into the galaxy, but slowly and peacefully. We will share our technology, our knowledge, our culture. We will trade, cooperate, and build together. But this comes with a condition. What condition? Valen asked quietly. That you remember, Jiwoo said simply. Remember what happened here. Remember why it happened. Remember that peace is precious and war is costly. Remember that mercy is not weakness and restraint is not surrender. Remember that humanity tried peace for 3,000 years and was forced into war. Remember, and teach your children to remember, so this never happens again. The Krellian ambassador, the being of energy, pulsed with a question. And if we refuse these terms? Jiwoo's expression didn't change. Then we will disable your fleets like we disabled the Vrethians. We will occupy your worlds like we occupied their colonies. We will demonstrate, over and over, that you cannot win. And eventually, you will accept peace because there will be no other choice. We prefer you choose peace willingly, but we will enforce it if necessary. Emperor Valen stood slowly. He was an old being who had led his empire for 200 years. He had ordered the deaths of millions. He had conquered dozens of worlds. He had believed himself untouchable. Now he stood before a species he had called primitive and understood how wrong he had been. On behalf of the Vrethian Empire, he said, his voice formal and clear, I accept these terms. I surrender our military forces. I ask for peace, and I beg forgiveness for our pride, our ignorance, and our arrogance. Jiwoo smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't cold. It was warm. Forgiveness is earned, Emperor, but peace is given freely. We accept your surrender. Now, let's build something better. One by one, the other species accepted the terms. The Krellians, the Morgath. Even the species that had withdrawn earlier formally signed the new armistice. Within a week, the entire galaxy had agreed. Captain Taeyang attended the formal signing ceremony on Earth. He stood in dress uniform, watching as leaders from across the galaxy signed the treaty. Beside him, Engineer Kyung-soo smiled. We did it, the old engineer said. We prepared for 3,000 years, fought for 3 months, and won without becoming monsters. My ancestors would be proud. They are, Taeyang said. We all are. General Mi-sun oversaw the withdrawal of human forces from occupied systems. Her soldiers departed to cheers from the liberated populations. The smaller species that had been conquered by the Vrethians were freed and given support to rebuild. Human medical teams, construction crews, and teachers stayed behind to help. Is this still warfare? One young soldier asked Mi-sun. She smiled. No. This is peace. This is what we fought for. The chance to help instead of hurt. Intelligence Officer Jae-hyun shut down his psychological operations center. The last broadcast went out across the galaxy. Footage of the signing ceremony. Of humans and aliens working together. Of children from different species playing together in parks on Earth. Let them remember joy instead of fear, he said to his team. Let them remember we can be friends as easily as we can be warriors. Commander Dae-sung stood on a platform overlooking a memorial service. Millions of humans gathered in person, and billions watched remotely. They honored the 3,000 years of preparation, the generations who had maintained weapons they hoped never to use, the soldiers who had trained for wars that might never come. The engineers who had built ships that might never fire their weapons. Dr. Heejin spoke at the ceremony. We remember, she said, not to glorify war, but to honor peace. Our ancestors could have conquered the galaxy 3,000 years ago. They chose mercy. We faced that same choice this year. We made the same decision. This is who we are. This is who we will always be. Strong enough to win, wise enough to show mercy, human enough to hope for better. Later, in the quiet of the historical archives, Heijin sealed away the battle records and war protocols. Daesung stood beside her, watching as the ancient and new records were placed together. How long do you think this peace will last? Heejin asked. Daesung smiled his cold smile one last time. Then let it soften into something warmer. As long as they remember. And we will make sure they never forget. Not through fear, through friendship, through showing them every day what we could be, and what we choose to be instead. He looked at the sealed archives. My great-grandfather told me something when I was young. He said that the greatest victory is the one you don't have to fight. The second greatest is the one where everyone survives. We achieved both. Now we teach the next generation to do the same. Across human space, in schools and homes and training facilities, children learned the new lesson. They were taught military skills. Yes, but they were also taught diplomacy, kindness, and restraint. They learned that being able to fight didn't mean you should. That winning didn't require destroying. That mercy was the ultimate strength. Captain Taeyang was promoted to admiral and given command of the new joint peacekeeping fleet. His ships patrolled the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as guardians. When disputes arose between species, he mediated. When pirates threatened trade routes, he protected. When disasters struck, he brought aid. One day, a young Vrithian officer asked him, "How do you do it? How do you stay gentle after being so fierce?" Taeyang smiled. Because being fierce was never who we wanted to be. It was what we had to be. Now, we can choose again, and we choose to be what we've always wanted. Explorers, teachers, friends. The warriors are still here, still ready, but we hope to never need them again. The galaxy moved forward into a new age. Human technology spread slowly, carefully, with teaching and cooperation. Trade routes expanded. Cultural exchanges flourished. Art from 100 worlds hung in human museums. Human music played on alien worlds. And in dark space, in hidden locations across the galaxy, the hidden fleet remained. Not as a threat, as a promise. A reminder. A symbol of what would happen if peace was ever broken again. But it never was. Because this time, the galaxy remembered. They told their children the true story. They taught them about the species that chose mercy twice. About the humans who could have ruled the galaxy, but chose to share it instead. And when asked why they were so careful to maintain peace, every species gave the same answer. Because the humans taught us that peace is precious. Mercy is strength. And memory is eternal. We will never forget. In his retirement, Commander Daesung sat in a garden on Earth, surrounded by his grandchildren. They asked him about the war, about the battles, about the victory. "Tell us, grandfather," one child asked. "Why did you smile when they declared war? Weren't you scared?" The old commander looked at the child and smiled again. Not coldly this time. Warmly. "I smiled," he said, "because I knew something they had forgotten. I knew that we were ready. I knew we would win. But most importantly, I knew that we would show mercy. That's what made me smile. Not the thought of victory, but the knowledge that we would remain human even in our victory. That we wouldn't become monsters to fight monsters." He looked up at the stars, beginning to appear in the evening sky. Never forget that lesson, child. Strength without mercy is tyranny. Mercy without strength is weakness. But strength and mercy together, that's humanity. That's what we are. That's what we will always be. The child nodded seriously. I'll remember, grandfather. Good, Daesung said. Tell your children. And they'll tell theirs. And the galaxy will remain at peace, because everyone will remember the day they forgot what humans were capable of, and the day they learned that humans were capable of far more than just war. The sun set over Earth. In orbit, human and alien ships worked together on a joint science station. Across the galaxy, 100 species lived in harmony, and in the archives, the records remained sealed, but not forgotten. Peace endured, not because there was no one left to fight, but because everyone remembered why fighting should always be the last choice, not the first. The 3,000-year armistice had ended. The war had come. Humanity had smiled coldly and won. And then, they had smiled warmly and shown the galaxy what true victory looked like. Everyone alive, everyone learning, everyone choosing to be better. That was the final lesson. The one that would be remembered forever.